welcome to this panel session. I'm really glad that you all have a drink in hand. I was a little worried that we might be holding you, standing between you and the sundowner later. So this is a great combo to solve both of those things. So my name's Kate Brooks, and I had a conversation with Hamish a few months ago about latency, and we were so incredibly excited as a university to be the platinum sponsors of this event. I think front of mind is a great panel, isn't it? It's a good look. Great front of mind for me was as a head of school for the university, that's really teaching your future staff. What is it that you want us to teach? What do you want us to embed in the curriculum? What pathways are you looking for to connect with the graduates and possibly undergrad, even the yet to graduate cohort? And so that's some of the things that we agreed to run this panel to really explore that. And I'm so excited to have these superhumans on the stage with me that are really going to be sharing the wisdom. I'm just hoping to facilitate it or moderate it, as they say. So I'll just run through the panel very quickly, and then we've got a few questions to kick off. So we have Mark McCreary? Masiri, thank you, Mark. Now, Mark is the principal engineer at Fugro, and he's a leader in advanced robotics and technologies with over 20 years' experience spearheading projects across the private, public, and academic sectors. He's served as a key strategic and technology advisor to organisations including the White House, Department of Defence, NASA, and the Australian Space Agency. So welcome, Mark. We can give him a round of applause. And then we have Kate Kerwin, who is also a Kate, just a Kate with a K. It's a great club to be in. And she's the founder and CEO of She Codes and also the 2024 WA Young Australian of the Year. She Codes teaches coding skills to busy women. Kate is a passionate advocate for women in STEM and the innovation ecosystem, and thanks to her work, more than 4,700 women have learnt to code through free programs across Australia. Welcome, Kate. And you all know Anthony Woods, who's been our keynote speaker from earlier today. Welcome, Anthony. He's just for your reminder, Anthony's the co-founder at Grafana Labs, which is the company behind Grafana, Loci, Mimir, and Tempo, and is leading open source software for visualizing operational data. So welcome back to the stage, Anthony. And Marie has just had a few minutes break to get a drink and come back to the stage. And we've obviously heard from Marie already with her wonderful Locknote address. And Marie is the global head of product at Moodle, which is obviously a very relevant representation here in this discussion around education and tech. So, and welcome Marie back. Let's give Marie. So let's begin. So we thought we only have 30 minutes, and so we've set it up so that I'll ask each one of the panel guests a question, and then we will ask them a few more general questions. So the first question is for Anthony. Given your experience in development of open source software, what emerging technologies or trends do you foresee shaping the future of computing? And how can individuals, like those in the audience, prepare themselves for these changes?
All right, thank you. That's a long question. So it's really interesting. We see only open source. Obviously, we've got Moodle here as well. Open source seems to be quite popular. It's certainly one of the interesting things about open source is we really believe it's the future of innovation for one. Right, that's where a lot of new technology is happening, and it's actually really interesting because we spoke I guess last night talking around one of the challenges we have as an open source is typically a remote first kind of culture, right? So Grafana Labs is a company, we're fully remote, we have no offices, and that really kind of stems from the fact that we built from this open source model of very distributed, we welcome contributions from all over the world, and this becomes really challenging, I think, for new grads, right? Trying to be successful in this kind of remote first world, where you don't get that immediate feedback. You don't have someone to come and just check on you and see how you're going and make sure that you're being successful. And we've all been new grads, and we've all had our experience with new grads. And interestingly, they have expectations that they should know what they're doing. When the reality is, even seasoned veterans like ourselves rarely know what we're doing, and they're afraid to ask questions. And so we see open source has been the only way that we've been able to identify new grads that we can hire, and we just see from their contributions, from the way that they're engaging with their community, and their ability to go and ask questions, right, to reach out and get help on things. So I think one of the things we see really important for kind of open source and kind of the shift towards remote first is that ability for people to proactively go and seek help, and everyone's always willing to give help, which is also interesting.
So it's a real sort of approach to work rather than the content and learning that coding. That's very interesting, is how do you learn to find your work culture and approach?
100%, yeah. And I think that's really one of the most important things for this industry, right, is your ability to continually learn, because this industry changes so quickly on a daily basis. If you don't build that kind of culture of continual development, continual learning, you just fall behind.
Yeah. And Kate, I guess in that spirit of continual learning, can as the founder of She Codes and passionate advocate for women in STEM, and how do you believe we can foster greater diversity inclusion in the tech industry? And what roles do initiatives like She Codes play in building this future tech workforce and picking up on these themes of continued and perhaps return after a break learning?
Yeah, so I've been doing this for 9 years, and I've got a bunch of my alumni in the room, which I'm really excited to see them here today. There's kind of a couple of main barriers from what we've seen of why we don't have diversity in tech. So that's a lack of opportunity and practical learning opportunities for women. There is a lack of female role models, and then there's this stereotype that we probably all hear of you have to be, I can't be in tech because I'm not a nerd, or I'm too fun, or I'm too old, or I'm too whatever. We all have this idea when we say tech of what that involves. And it's really exciting looking around the room today that we have so many women in the room, and that has definitely changed over the years at this conference and across the Perth sector more generally. And I think when we're talking about diversity and inclusion, it really is an intentional process, right? So we have to be actively inviting people in. It's having role models on stage, a really good diverse speaker lineup. It's being able to invite people into the conversation and make them feel welcome. And it's not just women, but getting other layers of diversity as well. So we've got ages, backgrounds, genders, all different kind of layers of diversity. But we've got I think we're sitting on the cusp of a really exciting opportunity. So some of the stats, I love a good statistic. Some of the stats are showing that 95% of Australians are going to need to upskill or reskill in the next 5 years, particularly around things like AI and data science. That's a lot of people. They're also saying that we need 1 million people in tech by 2030. That's also a lot of people. And we don't currently have the formal education pathways and the other pathways to get that number of people in. So we need to start thinking differently about how we're teaching people and how we're telling the story. And I think everyone in this room has a job to tell on how we're telling the story of what kind of people belong in tech. And I'm really passionately trying to destroy that, I'm not a computer person, or I'm just not that technical, or I don't know, I couldn't possibly do that, I'm not good enough. Trying to get rid of all of that so they're not gatekeeping tech, that it really is for everyone.
And Kate, in the audience, what's your ask of that group today? How can they come back and reach out to you and perhaps bring She Codes into their workplace? What what's the call out there?
Yeah, so we've got a really active mentoring network. We've got about 500 people all across Australia in various capacities. Is that sometimes coming in and running presentations, or just hanging out on Slack and being able to offer advice, so you can reach out to me or find cheat codes. But I think my broader ask is really that I'm only one person. If we're trying to rebrand tech and change what that looks like, I think that all of you have a role to play in how we have that conversation about what tech is, and making it more accessible for different groups of people who are scared, because there's a lot of people out there that are scared.
Yeah, thank you. Mark, I guess want to draw on your extensive experience in advanced robotics and technology across various sectors. So we spoke earlier and you have that computing foundation, but very quickly we're seeing it's got to be topped up with a whole load of other skills in this increasingly sort of digital and digital world. So what specific skills or knowledge areas do you believe are going to be most valuable for graduates entering into this digital world? And we heard a little bit about the style of work, but if a graduate was thinking about what to specialise in, what's some of the advice that you would give them from what you're seeing?
So working in robotics, and especially having a background in robots that work in space, the normal answer would be embedded, high reliability, being able to work in really resilient environments or be resilient in difficult environments. The surprising answer that I'll give is it doesn't really matter what the specific thing is. My advice, and this is to all of the early career folks in the audience, is just get specific about something. Really become razor sharp. So if you are early in your career, you have the gift of being able to dive so deep into so many different things that I know I frankly sit in envy of all of you being able to do that. It's always easier for me to take somebody who is hyper specific and then turn them into a generalist than to take someone who has been educated in a more general way, and then get them to dive really, really deep into something. It's actually at that really deep point where innovation happens. It was about 3, maybe 4 years ago. I had just come out to Perth. My former team, so I was the head of robotics at NASA in Silicon Valley. So working with really high performance teams. And I came out and I was working with my new team and we were doing a workshop, and I was trying to, get them inspired and everything else. And he was an intern, and he actually said, Mark, look, this is Western Australia. Innovation isn't something you create; it's something you buy. And he took the wind out of my lungs. I was like, what? And what he was reflecting on, and what he accidentally said in a very profound way, is with a lot of the industry that sits down in our CBD here, there seems to be a want and a push for industry to want the universities to create folks that are generally capable. There's actually, I guess, been complaints that they don't want people that are really specifically sharp in a certain area. They want people that, frankly, can be advanced procurement people. And that, I would actually say, from a university standpoint, fight that. To all of you young folks out there, fight that. And really become razor sharp in something. You've heard a lot of people here talk about superpowers, right? If you're interviewing for my team, I want you to tell me about how you love the fact that you can shoot lasers out of your eyeballs, or you have razors that can shoot out of your fists. I don't want you to sit there and go, well, I really consider myself a hero generalist. I'm very broad in my expertise. I want to hear about that specific thing that you're really passionate about. And that is for all of the really beautiful kind of innovation moments that I've seen in products that have shipped. Those came from people that got really deep in that innovation space and then figured it out. And I don't think you find that if you're being general. So,
thanks, Mark. Marie, just picking up on that, I mean, you've heard it's almost this amazing opportunity in time for Moodle now. We're hearing things about lifelong learning. We're hearing about, increasing digital world, and this exciting time for Moodle to be really enabling and utilising all of this digital skill set in the learning. And I mean, how do you see that learning platform shape in the future to accommodate some of the skills that aren't so, there's that deep knowledge, but then there are those less sort of tangible skills. How does that work, and what are you thinking about at Moodle?
Yeah, so there's kind of two schools of thoughts about this, which and it kind of gets really hard to talk about this topic without either sounding incredibly fatalistic or like an executive at Kodak in the early 90s, like completely blind to the upcoming disruption. But the advent of Gen AI in education is massive, and it is actually going to transform not the technology, it will transform the technology that people use to learn, but it's going to fundamentally transform what people have to learn and what they're going to be able to do with those things. And incredible, like, I'd say right now, there's a whole bunch of people with lots of opinions, but nobody actually knows what's going to happen. And I think for organizations like Moodle, but even Curtin University, the best thing that we can do is get really, really sharp about our enterprise agility. Get ready to respond. And respond as fast as you possibly can to whatever is happening out there in the environment. I think often in our worlds that lots of people kind of have like this little secret desire in their hearts that they're going to find the answer and they're going to become the next Steve Jobs. Well, sorry, probably not going to happen. But what you can do to ensure your own personal success, your own corporate success, is just get ready to move and move fast and respond to whatever might be happening around you. More pragmatically, Moodle is investing in research. So I was talking about our founder, the person who was living in the middle of WA. He's kind of stepped back recently from his CEO role and is now becoming our head of research and investing all of his time into understanding what AI is going to do to learning management solutions and what the role it's going to play in the future. And I think that's what right now, that's what we can all do, is really invest our time and our understanding and get ready to move because there will be some answers that get landed, and then everybody's going to go that way for a little while, and those who can find the surfboard, it's like a big old tsunami. Those who can find the surfboard and ride the wave, they're going to be the ones who survive.
Thank you. And so I'd like to kind of open it up to the panel to explore one of the themes that's on my mind is how does a university like Curtin, where we have increasing, some of our courses around data science, cyber, AI, they're doubling every year, and those traditional teaching methods of having, especially in the third and fourth years, project work with one person matches to one supervisor and one industry partner. If we have 800 students, how do we scale that